What's up, potheads and political junkies? This is Cannabis Culture News Live, broadcasting from Amsterdam, beautiful Vancouver, British Columbia. I'm Jeremiah Vandermeer, editor of CC. You guys used to know the show as Weed This Week. That's what I've been broadcasting as for the past little while here. But we ran into some problems, actually. I'm going to tell you guys about that in a second. I just want to make sure we got microphone action working here. And I'm just going to go and check out the chat area here so I can see who's on board with us today. Let's check it out. Aha. So here we go. I don't know if anybody's logged in, but we'll see how it goes. And if you guys are logged in, let me know how the chat's going. Hold on just a quick second here. Mag. All right. Now we're logged in. There we go. I see some peeps. Now, you guys got to tell me if this sound is working out okay, because it's a little shaky once in a while. We have two mics hooked up, one for the microphone you see in front of me here, and one for the telephone microphone. We're going to have Barry Cooper, ex-narcotics agent turned KopBuster, on the show today to talk about the struggles that he's going through with the government on some of his sting KopBuster operations, some of the backlash from the cops on that one, and also the launch of his new Barry Cam system, where he's doing consultations for people who have set up secret spy cameras and record their interactions with the cops. It says, so legalize, it says I see and hear, and Happy Camper says, no, don't see or hear anything. So I see that we have 57 people watching right now. So hopefully some of you guys will log in. If you click this little Ustream button right here, if you guys are watching on the front page of CannabisCulture.com or elsewhere, if you click that Ustream button, it'll take you to the page where you can sign in, chat, do that kind of stuff. And if you go to the front page of CannabisCulture.com right now, you can check out the story on the top there. That'll bring you right to where you can get your Ustream account to sign in, that kind of stuff. So click on that Ustream link. So today we're going to talk, where's my little booklet here? We're going to talk about a few different things. First off, I'm going to go through some headlines as I usually do, and then we're going to talk about Bill S-10, which has just passed through the Senate. The Senate has finally passed Bill S-10. This time it's not a false alarm. Last time I think I told you guys about the article by Janice Tibbetts in the Vancouver Sun and other post-media organization or papers that said that it passed early. I ended up writing an article saying it didn't pass. They jumped the gun. But now it really has passed. So, and this time the press didn't report on it at all. I haven't seen one mainstream press article about S-10 actually passing this time. And there was some talk from some of the liberal senators in the Senate about how bad it was. They were going against it. It really didn't receive the criticism that I hoped it did, and it made its way through. So now it moves on to the House of Commons, I guess when we get back from this Christmas break, and we'll see what happens there. It has to go through the voting process there. So if Jacob Hunter, who's standing right next to me here, will stick around, maybe we can talk to him about it. I don't know if he's got to do stuff. Jacob, what do you think? You got things to do or what?
Hang around for a bit.
Hang around for a bit? Okay, cool. Well, once, here, maybe you should put this shirt mic on here, brother. And test out that one, see how that works, and we'll get this camera a little widened out so everybody can see it. Grab a chair. I'm just going to quickly go through some news here while Jacob's getting his stuff set up. Headlines today. So there's some crazy stuff going on in the cannabis community and around the world in the drug reform movement. And one big thing that's happening, the first thing I have on my list today for you is a minister in the UK. He says he was the former Home Office Minister and who was responsible for drug policy, and the Defense Secretary, his name is Bob Ainsworth, and he says that all drugs should be legalized to beat dealers. And he says, I'll read you the little part here, and actually check this out now. We're getting really fancy here. I got the document cam going. So here, is this the document here? All drugs should be legalized to beat dealers, and all illicit substances, including heroin and cocaine, this story from The Independent reads, should be legalized, according to a former drug minister who will today become the most senior politician to push for dramatic change in the strategy for tackling Britain's drug problems. And that's Bob Ainsworth. He's going to, or he says that it's better for addicts to receive their fixes on prescription rather than relying for their supply on the international criminal gangs that make billions of pounds or dollars from the trade. He also said that he will call in the Commons for a fundamental rethink of how the country responds to drug addiction, and he'll receive the backing of senior members of Parliament there from all parties who will argue that the current tough stance on drugs is counterproductive. So that's good. Check out cannabisculture.com on the front page. It's posted there.
Hey, I got a news story for everybody.
Here, let's widen this camera out a bit here.
Just for my inane comments, we're going to widen the camera?
Hell yeah.
Yeah, okay, cool.
That's how it's done. All right.
Now I should be on here, eh?
I think so.
I think so.
Talking to there. Here, we'll get the chat back up so we can tell what people are saying about us.
Okay, so here's the news story. DocuCam. That's freaking awesome. How'd you get that going?
That is the news story. That's Ustream, baby.
Wow.
Oh, right. And so I guess this is a good opportunity to tell everybody about what happened to Weed This Week exactly and why we're not doing that anymore, or at least why we're not using that name. And it's because they just banned our account completely. And when I log into Cannabis Culture, it says copyright infringement. Now, I'm not really sure. I don't think we infringed on any copyrights that I can think of besides ripping the name This Week off of ABC. And if you guys remember my logo, it did have their logo kind of in there hidden with the word weed in there.
ABC owns This Week?
I believe it's ABC.
Who owns Next Week?
I don't know.
That's
but I know
crazy.
that This Week is a really, really old broadcast that's been around for a long time. And I think it's hosted now by George Stephanopoulos, who's an old Clintonite guy or something. He's a jerk. But
I know him personally, and the man is
I know.
an
I've met
asshole.
him several times, and he's a total dickhead. No, I'm just joking. Never met him. I'm sure he's a nice person. Okay, so I was going to tell you, yeah, they said copyright infringement. It could have been from the news clips I was showing you guys. That's possible. One of them was from Australia. I think I only really played 2 news clips. One from Australia, and the other one was from the United States. So, it's possible that was the problem. But, man, isn't that fair use? Jacob, come on. Where's the fair use? There it seems to be in the United States
recall,
you can
if
use
you
for
just modify
educational
it.
purposes, right?
You've modified it slightly, haven't you?
Well, I clipped it out. It's not really. I guess I could put like a green filter on it or something.
Oh,
and
you gotta, yeah. I mean,
No,
yes,
it
it's
wasn't
fair
modified
use,
much.
damn it. It's fair use.
For
yeah.
educational purposes. You should be allowed to disseminate news, right? Hey, we do it on the front page of CC. We borrow news stories and aggregate them for you guys. And we don't always have permission to do that, but we hope to do that because we like giving you guys the message of what's happening in the movement and show you the whole thing. So we like to repost stories. News aggregation. It used to happen all the time on the web. commondreams.org. Check that place out. They do a great job of it. truthout.org. There's others. Anyways, let's see here. I hope that people are still with us. What do we got? 66 online right now?
No, I think,
Not bad.
frankly, if anyone doesn't like our fair use, then we should send the WikiLeaks, the anonymous crowd after them.
There you go.
Get anonymous on their case.
Shut down your
4chan.
websites. Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
They'll
These
hold
are
you hostage. They're cyber terrorists is what they're
Oh,
calling
yeah,
them
no,
now.
it's a cyber war. They're in a cyber war with Anonymous.
Oh,
Yeah.
Anonymous. I love those guys. We see them often up the street here at the Scientology church that's a block up from Cannabis Culture. They constantly are harassing those guys. It's
Yeah.
quite interesting. In their V for Vendetta masks.
But what I want to know is how they're going to use Anonymous and WikiLeaks to justify billion-dollar aircraft purchases. We must have the F-35, and if
Right.
we do not, Julian Assange will do whatever he wants.
Right. Well, they use every other excuse they can for those things, so I'm sure they'll fit it in.
Oh, they're great at taking out terrorists into dense urban environments. I mean,
And there were Canadian politicians even calling for Julian Assange. If you guys don't know who he is, he's the WikiLeaks guy. I'm sure every single person in the world knows who he is now. But they were calling for his execution. It's kind of weird in
That
our
was Tom
society now.
Flanagan.
Yeah.
yeah. He
That's-
was the former campaign manager for Harper for like his leadership bit and for his 2 of his campaigns.
Oh man, that's brutal. So it shows you where our prime minister, what mindset he's coming from. If his former aide is telling people to assassinate, telling other governments to assassinate people, that's inciting violence, isn't it? I don't know. It's
Actually, I
illegal
think
or something.
someone has requested the RCMP investigate it as a criminal code infraction.
Right? Yeah, I heard that.
Yeah.
Huh, craziness.
Plus,
All
it
right.
made Daily Show.
It did make the Daily Show, and if it made the Daily Show, then Americans will pay attention to it. It's like the #1 source of news for young Americans or something.
Oh, Assange, the CIA off.
Yeah,
That'd be funny.
I've read a few articles and they're sort of trying to point that out, but I still haven't seen hard evidence on that one, man. I don't know. It just doesn't seem. He's in jail and they're going after him.
He's not in jail anymore.
No, now he's
he is
out. Now he's
yeah.
out. Right. Yes. If yesterday was it or the day before?
Yeah, those surprise sex charges have finally gone, have they? Surprise!
I guess. Yeah. Surprise sex.
So is it true? Is it like, because I heard, I know this is a little off topic, but
Right.
Whatever.
Whatever. It's fine.
Is it really true that he is actually in jail because a condom broke?
That's absolutely true.
that's the
why
charge?
he was in jail, because he, I guess, had sex with 2 different girls, and with one the condom broke, and with the other he didn't use a condom. So I guess they went to the police about it and said they wanted to have him checked for STDs. I don't know when the last time you could arrest somebody and ask them to be checked for
Oh,
STDs.
so it's not a criminal code infraction. It's more like we had sex with him and now we want to know if he has any diseases.
Exactly.
Really? This is you can get an international arrest warrant for that?
I'll post a story about that in the notes of the show right now. It's on the front page of CC, and you guys can go to that and see that this is really true. It's crazy. I have to have my volume all the way up. Yeah. We do have some volume problems. We're using this one mic. It's the way we have things hooked up just to have a shirt mic and all the fancy stuff you got going on here. We're going to modify that for next week and try and have it. Right now, it's actually coming to you guys in just one channel, I think. The way I'm seeing it now, it's just coming to you in one channel. So hopefully, let's see here. And I don't know if that makes any difference. No, probably not. Anyways, you need volume, huh? I know, volume problems. Well, we could always just unplug this microphone and do it straight from the actual mic. Should we try that and see if that works better for you guys?
I don't know.
Everybody's calling for volume. What do you guys think?
They need volume.
We need volume.
Any way to turn the volume up with the isn't there a gain on this thing? Potter and I used this for a while.
Yeah, there is not actually any sort of equalizer in this version of it. I think you have to buy it. Shirt mic is better than the stationary one. Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Well, why don't we here? I'm just going to unplug the mic completely. And
we will get more volume through unplugging microphones.
Isn't it?
Wouldn't do this. Hey everybody, I was just making fun of Jeremiah's iPhone there. Good times.
It's true.
And we met Justin might come on.
I guess
he's pretty.
I guess we're stuck with the shitty mic. Sorry guys. I don't know why we can't switch in live broadcast to a different microphone, but it wouldn't let us. So we're going to can't make everyone happy is right. So we're gonna make nobody really that happy. Anyways, okay, let's get on with what I was talking about here. Did we actually have something we were saying? Oh, we were talking about
Julian Assange.
All right.
Yeah.
WikiLeaks. Yeah. There's tons of WikiLeaks stuff going on, man. Just type in WikiLeaks into Google and hit latest and just watch the news stories flow in. It's pretty amazing. I dig it. Anyways, okay, back to pot. EU rules Dutch can ban foreigners from buying marijuana.
Boo!
Ooh, so I told you guys a couple weeks ago about the new conservative government in the Netherlands who's cracking down on pot users, and they don't want any tourism for pot anymore. They want to kill all the pot tourism. So they don't want to allow people to actually buy marijuana in the
Why
cafes.
else would people go to the Netherlands? Like I'm not trying to be anti-Dutch. I love the Dutch.
I'm sure it's a beautiful place.
But other than tulips and weed,
I've never been there.
He's of the Mere.
I am. I'm of the lake, from the lake.
But what are you going to go to the Netherlands for if not weed or tulips? Really, you plan your vacation around tulips?
Tulip gardens, I guess. Really, that's what it would be.
Tulips are nice, but you can't smoke them. It's not effective medication.
Different kind of flower is the important one in the Netherlands, I think, for tourism. Anyway, so and this is kind of crazy because not only they're trying to crack down in Amsterdam, and the government's been saying we're gonna fight against it hard and try and ban all pod tourism, but they haven't been successful at that yet. But they have done that in one area, or a few areas, which are limited to border cities. And so this is where this is happening. I guess they banned these cafes in border cities, and people are still opening. People are pissed off. Cafe owners want the business, so they're just opening anyway. And so one of them, this guy, Marc Joosmans, the owner of Easygoing Cannabis Cafe, he sued after being forced to close for breaking the no foreigners rule. And the Dutch Supreme Court, I guess, requested the ruling on this one. And in the end, they ruled that they were indeed allowed to ban these things, and they were indeed allowed to ban foreigners. So, and the reason I'll just read you the beginning of this. The reason they originally thought they might be able to stop it under Dutch law is because it could be a breach of European single market laws. And that's why the EU government gets to come in and make their decision about it. But in the end, they said the European Court of Justice found that the ban, which explicitly discriminates against foreign consumers in a breach of EU single market rules, was justified by the objective of combating drug tourism and the accompanying public nuisance. So pot tourism is a public nuisance. That's what
full hotels and restaurants is a terrible thing. I mean, more money in the economy. Why would you want that? That's a bad thing.
Nuisance to our.
Someone has an idea, and I think you need to put this on the front page of CC.
What's that?
We arrange a wooden shoe boycott.
That's a fantastic idea.
Yeah, a clog boycott.
Right, and I know that wooden shoes are still very popular in the United States. I see them all the time. Here's a joke. My opa, I'm Dutch. My opa is my grandfather. He told me this one. Or at least it was told to him, and he passed it on a few times, I'm sure. But why do woodpeckers... Wait, I'm going to fuck this up. Wait,
this is really racist.
Wait. No, wait, sorry. Oh, now I just totally ruined it. No, it's why do Dutchmen wear wooden shoes? And it's to keep the woodpeckers off their head. I always give the punchline first. Jesus.
I like that.
All right. So another big thing here. You guys might have read about this if you follow the pot news, because this was a big one. But there's a study out of the University of Michigan, and they do this every year, I believe, or at least every few years, and it's taken, this one's in Ann Arbor, Michigan, at the University of Michigan. It's taken pretty seriously. Marijuana use is rising among teens, the study found, and I guess in 2000 there was 46,000 8th, 10th, and 12th graders who took part in the study. Oh, I'm not using my document cams here.
Docu-cam!
Jeez. See, look, this was my last one, the EU rules Dutch. Jeez, and then here's the one that we're talking about now. This is the University of Michigan study. Nice. Hey, Karina's watching. What's up, baby? That's my girl.
She's talking to me.
Oh, of course. Right. Okay, so this one, anyways, it says there, if you see the 3 bullet points, marijuana use, which has been rising among teens for the past 2 years, continues to rise this year. And that's a sharp contrast to the considerable decline of the preceding decade, according to the study. They say also that ecstasy use, which fell out of favor in the early 2000s as concerns about its danger grew, appears to be making a comeback this year. So people are doing more ecstasy, following a recent decline in the belief that its use is dangerous. I guess that's probably because of people like David Nutt, the UK government official who was the top drug scientist, who said that taking ecstasy is less harmful than going horseback riding. And he also said if you were to meet somebody, a stranger on the street, and you had the option of giving them a pill of ecstasy or a peanut, you'd be better off to give them the pill of ecstasy because statistically it's safer. The peanut could kill them. Ecstasy doesn't regularly kill people.
It is absolutely true, and yet totally hilarious.
I know, those statistics are always...
Peanut or ecstasy?
Right. They're statistics, if you got to watch carefully, because those little things can really fool you sometimes, and they don't always mean necessarily... They might look like they mean a lot by that.
They're valid statistics. It's
they're
just
valid.
That if you say to a person, well, you're better off taking ecstasy than horseback riding, most people find that to be kind of crazy. But... It's true. Horseback riding is incredibly dangerous.
Jeez, it's 420.
420.
Smoke. Hold on, I gotta grab my joint.
Forgot the joint.
420. How did we forget about that? Here's the joint. Oh, there it is. Nice.
joint cam.
Joint cam.
Joint cam.
Joint. The Kush cam.
Oh, it's Kush.
Kush cam.
Man, you never see that around Vancouver.
Never, ever.
It's the rarest strain.
Actually, the first time I've ever tried Kush.
Really?
Yeah.
I wonder what it'll be like.
I don't know. It's really rare substance. Obviously, joking. There's Kush all over the place all the time. Everything's called Kush. You can't get away from Kush. And for those music listeners out there, if you like rap music, like I do.
Oh, do you got that
hip-hop,
in your cam?
I don't want to play it because if I play it, I thought about it, but they may ban me for copyright infringement.
What?
Dr. Dre's new song, Kush. Check it out. Yeah, they put it on the internet, but, you know, if you make a recording of it and you put it out yourself, then they don't get the advertising revenue.
Can't you just, like,
Vivo doesn't get it.
Through this thing? Oh, it's on Vivo.
Vivo is the attempt for record companies to continue making cash from YouTube by uploading high-quality videos and having their own advertising crap all around it and that kind of stuff. And that's where the new Dre video is. But check it out. It's a pretty dope video. I think Jacob passed it on to me, actually.
No, I'm not that hip.
Well, somebody did, and they said it was probably the most money ever spent on a video about pot because it's pretty fancy. So smoke your joints out there, bongs, if you got them. No. People were telling me we need to smoke more weed on camera because everybody loves smoking weed on camera, watching other people smoke weed. What do you guys think? These guys. We got a little audience going on. Eric, my man's in the house. Big props to Eric, and Ryan's here.
There we go.
I'm the Urban Shaman. Urban Shaman. Okay, so that was my news stories. I had those three for you. Did we finish up with the drug study? Oh, no, I didn't really finish up. So teen marijuana use is rising, and alcohol use and tobacco use is going down.
A 2-year-old pot that was stored in an Advil container.
I guess if you don't have anything else, 2-year-old pot's better than
That's
nothing.
true, yeah. We once smoked up. We were hanging out here, and an old seed breeder came by. No, I'm good. With a 3-year-old cured weed.
Oh, 3-year-old cure.
3-year cure. It was awesome. It was really nice. Yeah, it was.
Doesn't it? I've had old pot, and it was good pot, but it was old, and it kind of has a mustier taste to it.
No, this was like really nicely cured. It had the flavor was just really light, and like there was no cough to it, and the high was very, very like up. There was almost no kind of. It seemed like all the CBD was gone.
Huh? Interesting.
Yeah, it was really interesting.
Cool. So, good thing Jacob breezed in the building here, because I wanted to talk to you guys about Bill S-10. If you're from Canada, I don't know how many people out there from the States watching or from other countries, but I'm sure we have a lot of Canadian viewers. Now, pardon me, coughing into the microphone's bad. S-10, mandatory minimums in Canada for pot crimes, for flower crimes, mandatory minimums, and some pretty nasty ones at that. There's a bunch of stuff hidden in this damn bill, which just was passed by our Senate, just made it through the Senate, and now moves to the House of Commons. Now, this is the third time the same bill has come back. I think it's the third.
In fact, you know, today is the 3rd anniversary of our C-26 protest. We did a nationwide protest against C-26, the first version of this bill, and some of you guys may have participated. It was a great event. We had like 100 locations covered across Canada, and that was my first ever time organizing a nationwide rally. Cool. So this is our 3-year anniversary today, and we're still fighting this bill.
So each year they brought the bill back then?
Yeah, every single time. First it was C-26, then C-15, now it's S-10.
Right. Now, pardon me, my goodness, this is good stuff. I published a story on the front page of CC. You guys can check it out. It's called Senate Quietly Passes Bill S-10 and Mandatory Minimums for Marijuana. And it's about the current status. The media in Canada is not really reporting on this very much. They've had some sort of words from liberals. That a story or two came out right before the bill actually passed that was critical of the mandatory minimums, because Rob Nicholson was piping up about them, saying he was going to streamline them through the House and the Senate first, I guess. But so now it's been passed, now to the House of Commons, and it's not. So you guys probably have heard that the mandatory minimums are 6 months for as few as 5 plants.
Well, now okay. So this is where it gets really annoying. What the Conservatives have done is they've created multiple classes of the same offense. So if you, let's say, make any amount of hash or any amount of marijuana baked goods like cookies, if you're on a farm and you own that farm, it's a 1-year sentence. If you're on a residential property, if you rent your property, and of a whole host of other things, then it's an 18-month sentence. So in actuality, the vast majority of people charged do not live on farms that they own. They live in residences that they rent. And so what this means is for every single category, whatever sentence they say, it's actually that plus 50%. So instead of 6 months, it's 9 months. Instead of 12 months, it's 18 months. And they've done this on every single sentence.
That's right. So the very minimum is 6, but it's likely that it'll be 9 if you don't own the property you're on or one of these other things.
Or if you're in a residential neighborhood, or...
Right, there's aggregating factors that actually increase it to 2 years, I believe, right? What certain parts of it would...
There's certain things, yeah, if you're trafficking in over 3 kilograms. A really scary thing, though, is there's actually... They reschedule ecstasy, MDMA, and this is what's really going to hurt a lot of young people, is that they've rescheduled the possession and the production of ecstasy, and I think the trafficking of any amount, so that it now has a mandatory minimum. They treat it the same as if it were crack cocaine or if it were heroin.
That's fucked up.
Yeah, and then by doing these reschedulings, they're going to imprison a lot of people. Like, you know, like you go into a rave, and suddenly now there's hundreds of people who have the potential of getting a mandatory minimum sentence.
Wow.
And it's insane.
Well,
but again, baked goods.
Yeah, baked goods. 18 months. If you make pot cookies and share them with somebody, that's 18 months. Mandatory sentence. Now, for those who don't know, a mandatory minimum sentence is a sentence where the judge doesn't have discretion. So if the judge, say, a medical marijuana user made some pot brownies to share with his wife, who had lung cancer or HIV or some other ailment that pot is known to be helpful for, if that person, they share that, that's an 18-month sentence, and that goes in front of a judge, he doesn't get to make any, you know, he doesn't get to say, sorry, you're a medical marijuana patient, I'm sorry you got brought here. No, that doesn't happen. This person is likely to be put away for 18 months, and the judge doesn't get to say anything. It actually, Jacob, doesn't it put the real control in the hands of the prosecutors?
Well, yeah, this is an interesting thing that's come out of the science in the United States, is what they found is that instead of removing discretion as a whole from the justice system, what it instead does is transfers it from judges to crown prosecutors or prosecutors. And so what happens is, so say you have, for instance, like we're talking about, mandatory minimums for the production of 6 plants. What they'll do is say, oh, well, we'll say you only had 5, so you don't get the mandatory minimum. Right. What that ends up doing, though, is by giving that discretion to the crown and letting, for Americans, the prosecutors, what happens is it tends to benefit people who are above average income and who tend to be white, and tend to be, well, in a lot of cases, actually, women get off a little bit easier, but in some states, women get off worse. So it's essentially, if you're rich and white, you'll get away with it, or if you're rich in general, you get away with it.
Right.
Everyone else, and especially people who are poor and black and Latino, they get the brutal mandatory minimum just passed to them right away.
And doesn't that give them also power? They have people plea down, so if they give you, prosecutors have that power, they can make deals with people, and if they say, well, look, we won't go to court if you take this deal, and then people are more likely to take those deals that way, right?
Yeah, but on the other side, too, it also makes people much more willing to go to trial, much less likely to plead guilty if they have to plead guilty to a mandatory minimum. And so we had a report today in British Columbia where it turns out that a huge number, I think 7,000 court cases before provincial court are 2 years or more delayed. So the justice system across Canada is already backed up because of prohibition. And so by enacting things like S-10, which is going to lead to way more trials and way more complex trials, we just can't afford to have enough judges employed to put all these growers in prison.
No. And you see what the Conservatives are doing. They're trying to build all these new prisons. They really want to make this into a new economy. Put non-violent people in prison and make profits off them. That's not a Canadian thing to do, really. You know, and they say it's a U.S. style drug war that we're developing, and that's because in the States they've had these mandatory minimums, and they've shown time and again that they don't work. And Jacob, don't we even have the U.S. drug czar?
I was just going to say, the U.S. drug czar was in Canada making a speech to a bunch of prohibitionists, and he told them that any law that amounts to putting addicted people in jail or puts low-level drug offenders in jail amounts to being dumb on drugs. So, and it's important to know the drug czar is not just the guy who walks around talking about how great the drug war is. He's actually legally required to maintain that opinion. He can't look at the evidence on the other side. So you have someone out there who is legally required to support prohibition calling S-10 dumb on drugs. I mean, Stephen Harper is so... I cannot imagine what maybe someone hit him with a hacky sack. Maybe he just really doesn't like reggae music. Maybe he was abused, in view of colors that remind him of the Jamaican flag. I don't know. Something about Stephen Harper has got him really worried about marijuana, and it's fucking insane.
Stephen Harper is a member of a particular church, and there's a book called The Armageddon Factor, which points out that church really hates pot a lot, doesn't like drugs, and a lot of people think that Harper's religion and some of this...
Oh, you know what it is? I figured it out.
Morals.
You know what it is?
What is it?
He hates pot because he's only ever tried Kush.
He's
only ever smoking the really crappy stuff, and he's like, this sucks. Fuck this.
That's right. We have to get him like a nice sativa or something, and get him all cerebral, get him all his mind buzzing.
Oh man, the Beatles sounds way better on this stuff.
Right, and if you guys go and check out on the front page of Cannabis Culture right now, there's an article there that I wrote actually about Stephen Harper singing a tribute. Well, he didn't really sing the tribute to John Lennon. He played it on his piano. He did a piano solo, and then he rocked out to a whole bunch of other songs like Share the Land by the Guess Who. And so he's really trying to co-opt this sort of hippie Beatles culture and use it as a propaganda technique, kind of like how on the Arsenio Hall show, Bill Clinton played a saxophone back in the day, that kind of stuff. Remember that?
Yes.
See, that's political gold, that stuff.
You're also mass. We're getting to the point where that's really dating us. Like the fact that you know what woo, woo, woo means you're kind of you're a little.
I used to love Arsenio
no,
as
you
a
got the
kid. I was pretty young then.
Yeah, good 80s. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, right. Clinton with the saxophone, Stockwell Day with the fucking jet ski.
Yeah, the jet ski. And then somebody threw chocolate milk on him, didn't they, or something?
Someone threw chocolate milk on him. See,
right.
Okay, I like the pie protests. Those are funny. But chocolate milk, I mean...
It was a dairy producer, I think, that was protesting.
Why chocolate milk,
I could be totally
then?
wrong about that. Please, don't quote me on that. I'm just saying shit off the top of my head.
Okay.
I don't know if that's true. I'm pretty sure that somebody did throw chocolate on him. Chocolate milk. Stockwell Day. And if you guys, pieing is great. I love the pieing.
The pieing is good. Did you see what CSSDP did with the pieing? They occupied an office. They went there and they wanted to have a sit-in where they would eat pie with them.
Oh, awesome.
And the conservatives would not eat any pie.
Wow. So somebody's doing an office occupation.
In fact, there was an office occupation today. One of the ones that Nicole and I went to in Ontario, Jim Flaherty's office.
Right.
Someone was there today actually occupying his office.
Fantastic.
So the occupations are spreading.
That's right. And if you guys do want to occupy an office, you can find information on how to do that written by my man Jacob here on the activism page, Cannabis Culture. If you go on the sidebar there, it says ACT. Click that. I think it's like the top of the resource articles. So now, did we want to talk more about S-10 here? Oh, I wanted to tell you guys, there's another good article on the front page of CC. Man, just tons of great articles on the front page of CC. Anyways. This one by Reverend Demuzi, who wrote about how there's even life sentences in Bill S-10 for pot, for nonviolent pot crimes, life sentences. Jacob, what did you know about those ones? What
these are? The maximum offenses is I mean, it increases it from to 14 years in some cases, and there are life sentences there as well.
Life sentence,
Yeah, it's the maximums. I mean, they're really. The thing is, it's interesting, it's more the minimums we focus on, but the maximums do get really interesting. And I mean,
it probably doesn't happen that often, right?
Well, where it's going to happen is in really rural places, and this is what gets really difficult is the media and most activists live in larger centers. So what you end up with is this kind of, and I know and I'm sure, having went to school in Nanaimo, I went to school in a small town, you really see in Canada that the cops are really different out there, but nobody's paying attention because everyone else is focused on the urban areas.
Right.
So I mean,
and
for us,
the media doesn't really pay attention in small towns either. So the cops get away with literally murder sometimes.
Yeah. Well. Yeah.
Yeah.
Quite often in BC, but I mean, we have in smaller towns and in places in Saskatchewan, Alberta, the Maritimes, and in Manitoba. I mean, there's a high likelihood that people could receive the maximums. I mean, it's.
Even violent flower crimes.
Yeah, and I mean, what's this going to do to even the availability of life sentences? What's this going to do to the length and complexity of trials? How long are people going to be? Tying up the justice system for?
Yeah, imagine that. I mean, and it's not just this. It's not just this issue, the pot issue. It's also the conservatives have been doing everything they can to increase jail sentences by getting rid of. Double time?
Yeah. Well, okay. So when you're in pretrial custody, so you're for whatever reason being held in custody before you go to trial, you're granted afterwards if you're found guilty. It was 2 for 1, and the reason is because you're being held without having gone to trial. You're presumed innocent, and they're really terrible conditions. There's a lot of overcrowding. So what the courts had said is that every day you spend in pretrial counts for 2 days in prison post-trial.
Right.
And so yeah, if people are sitting in prison in pretrial for 2 years, and then they get a 4-year sentence, yeah, they'll be out of prison. But this really affects kind of the low-level people. And the fact is they were held in jail for 2 years while still presumed innocent. And I think this is something that most people, I mean, this is something that happens in dystopic movies.
Right.
In people's worst nightmares, the idea that they would be, it's Kafkaesque, quite literally, where you're just,
you know what's going to happen to you.
Exactly. So, I mean, the fact that they got rid of this has already led to massive increases in prison crowding across Canada. And it's simply unconstitutional. I mean, these people are innocent while they're being held. It doesn't, I mean, how many people are going to be are going to be held and found not guilty, right? I mean, it's...
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man, it's brutal. And there's a steady stream of this stuff coming from these conservatives. Nicholson's last tirade, he was saying that he wanted to fast-track 4 of them before the Christmas break. They didn't make it.
Well, the anti-immigration bill is insane. We were talking about this at the Civil Liberties meeting the other night, and it was brought up that South Africa, and not sorry to depart here, but it just kind of gives you guys an idea of how crazy this is. Canada had a ship full with like a couple hundred people from Sri Lanka come this summer, and the Harper government tried to whip everyone up into an illegal immigration frenzy. Now, I mean, people aren't very familiar with geography, but Canada is a long way from Sri Lanka, which is literally on the other side of the planet, just south of India. We're talking about people who are going across the entirety of the Pacific Ocean to get here. And so they've created this anti-immigration bill, which essentially says if you arrive by a boat, then you are then you basically get imprisoned. If you arrive by a plane, which the vast majority of immigrants do, then you don't get imprisoned.
Right.
But it's
why the discrimination between boat and plane?
Well, exactly. But I mean, it goes further. You look at Canada is completely isolated. We've got the Arctic to the north, the Americans to the south, and vast oceans to the east and west. We are also the 14th biggest economy in the world. Right. It's only 30 million people. We're the most insulated, richest country from refugee sources. And these conservatives want to go absolutely nuts and try to prevent any refugees from getting here. Meanwhile, South Africa, who has 1/5 the size of the economy as we do, takes in like 8 times as many refugees every year. Jeez. Like, it's insane. The whole rest of the world, anywhere that is not massively isolated by ice and water and America, is taking in vast numbers of refugees, as is their duty under international law. Right. I mean, this is I'm quite passionate about this because it disgusts me what they're doing.
We are really protected on all sides. We don't really see I mean, that's why we're sheltered, frankly, from all kinds of things in this country. We're sheltered from, I mean, most places in the world, even when you go into Europe, the poverty and the struggling that they see just, not around the corner, basically, is a lot different than what we have here in North America. So for those of us that are living in North America, there's this big bubble around us. And the media and all, we don't really see about how the rest of the world works. Latin America is obviously very different, and other places in the world. But yeah, North America is sheltered.
Well, and especially Canada. I mean, we have a huge economy, no people, tons of free space, and we take in only 30,000 refugees in a given period. I can't remember. It wasn't a year. It was over a period of time. Whereas the South Africans took in 220,000. Like, I mean, it's horrible. And I mean, I think if we as a country want to have a real discussion about immigration, then the only fair thing to do is go to the 2 to 5% of the population that are First Nations and say, so what would you guys like to do? Because none of us, we're all immigrants. We have no right to be banning anyone else from coming here. I think it's absolutely ridiculous.
Well, now I'm here. I don't want anybody else here. Well, yeah. So I guess diverting things back to S-10, one of the many things that this conservative government is, one of the many nasty draconian laws this conservative government is trying to install into our country. There's the Canadian Bar Association, the John Howard Society has come out against this thing. They have every scientist that they talk to comes out against it. I'm just going to quickly read off a couple of these are the sentencing for growing pot. 6 months to 14 years if the number of plants is between 5 and 200. 9 months to 14 years for 5 to 200 grown for the purpose of trafficking. So that's like what Jacob was saying. it's that extra 3 months if it's not in.
No, extra 50%.
Oh, that's for the purpose of trafficking as well.
No. That's actually, this one is for. They say purpose of trafficking on all of them.
Right.
The fact is that passing a joint is trafficking. Anything is trafficking, right? So they put in all this innocuous legal language, trying to make it sound like it's reasonable, but it's actually total bull. And so no, it's for trafficking on both. But the difference between 6 and 9 is the 9 months is if it's in a residential area and causes a potential public safety hazard. But Crown contends that every grow-up is a public safety hazard. So then it's de facto in a residential property. Right. If it's in property owned by a third party, which is a rental property, it's a fair bit worse than that, unfortunately.
Right. Well, and there's lots of information. Go to cannabisculture.com. Go to whyprohibition.ca. There, if you go and sign up there, you can get updates sent to you about how we can fight this stuff. There's ways to search for your local MP so you can contact them. There's tons of great stuff.
All you have to do is log in, actually. If you just log in, you give us your postal code and your email. Top right corner will come up your member of parliament. You'll be at. We're within a week or two of passing the 30,000 mark on the email list, and we're hoping to. We've doubled over the last year, and we're hoping to double again over the next year. And again, I always tell people when it's funny because we talk about numbers on email lists, but really in politics, it's a lot of the time what it comes down to. And the Conservative Party rarely has more than 100,000 members, and so they're able to mount the donation, the fundraising effort that they mount. The political campaigns they mount with only 100,000 emails. Right. So we at 30,000 are well on our way, I think, to being able to push the envelope and to really well, frankly, to get marijuana finally legalized in this country.
Awesome. Whyprohibition.ca. Go sign up right now, guys. Whyprohibition.ca. And we are watching the comments. I see that there's some people out there asking if we're watching. And Karina is asking if Barry Cooper is coming on the show. Yes, Barry Cooper, KopBuster Barry Cooper, who's been setting up sting operations in Texas, trying to bust the cops doing nasty stuff. We have him on the phone, actually. I'm going to get him on the phone right now. Now, Jacob, do you want to stick around for this? You're quite welcome to stick around.
No, sure. I haven't seen Barry in like two or 3 years.
But now, here's the thing. I need your shirt, Mike, to do the whole phone transaction thing here.
Oh, burn.
I know, but that's okay. We can share this microphone here, you see? Oh, yeah. We'll share this guy. Okay. All right. So, Barry Cooper, we're going to give him a call right now. We got this great system here set up with my wonderful device, my iPhone. I won't give you Barry's number, but let's get him on the phone here. So, if you guys haven't checked out Barry, go to nevergetbusted.com or go to kopbusters.com or go to barrycam.com, which is Barry's newest stuff. He's going to tell us about all of this stuff going on. Now, you guys in the audience here, hey.
Hello.
Barry. How you doing, bro?
Yeah. Doing good, man. Doing good. How are you?
Oh, I'm very good, man. You're on right now. We're live broadcasting live across the internet. And I've just got I just want to make sure the audience can hear Barry properly. You guys got him out there? Let me know. So, Barry, I was just setting you up here. I was telling him about the KopBuster stings you've been doing and sort of what's been happening to you as a result of that. And also, Barry is, I've said this before, Barry Cams. We're going to give the Barry Cam systems, give the audience some information about that and where you guys can find secret hidden cams that you can record your interactions with the police and actually get consultation from Barry directly about that stuff. But anyways, Barry, what's up, brother? How's everything going down there in Texas?
Oh, man, well, it's going as great as it can be for Texas. You know, we're a very conservative state here.
Right.
And to survive in this state without winding up in a cage says something. So it's tough to never get busted here, but it can happen.
Right, and it did happen to you recently, right?
Well, yeah. We got busted after the KopBuster episodes that we aired on the internet for everybody. You know, we actually released helped a girl get out of prison, a mother of two, Yolanda, and the Texas Rangers later arrested us for it and then dropped the charges. And there's been some other police harassment.
So, Barry, why don't you tell people just a little bit of history, your history, Barry was a narcotics officer, first of all, and you've become a pot activist. You tell the audience about that whole setup, brother.
Well, what happened, like you said, I was one of our nation's top drug enforcement agents, and I really believed what I was doing because my parents had taught me that anybody that used drugs were bad, and the school systems reinforced that. And, of course, I went to church here in the United States. Christianity is a predominant religion, and they taught me that, you know, it was an evil sin for anybody to have any of these substances. So I turned into one of the best in the nation, and unfortunately I captured a lot of citizens and put them in jail. And later on I realized what I was doing was wrong. And about 4 years ago, my wife and I and our team released a series of videos titled Never Get Busted that teach people how not to get busted for pot.
Right, and you can actually find those videos at nevergetbusted.com. And so, Barry, so you wanted to help people not get busted by the cops, and so why? Why did you do all this stuff? What was the big deal? Why did you think this was wrong, what you were doing before?
Oh, human rights. Human rights. When you take somebody and place them in a cage, like Marc is in right now, you know, Candy and I didn't go through anything what he's going through, but we were in solitary confinement for a few days on 2 separate occasions in the last 8 months, all for misdemeanors. And it's so depriving of all the senses, and it's just something we shouldn't do to humans, especially nonviolent humans. So I had that epiphany that the damage that we're causing humans by arresting them for these offenses is much greater than any damage could have ever caused by just allowing them to use the drugs. So it was compassion first. It was compassion and being sorry for what I did, and I'm not going to stop until we free our prisoners of war.
That's great, Barry. Now, when you actually got busted, why don't you tell people what that was for exactly? You were setting up sting operations for your KopBuster show.
Yeah, that's right. After releasing the Never Get Busted videos and the media tour that we were so lucky to be a part of, we became really, really popular on the internet real fast. So we started receiving all kinds of emails of people telling us how cops in their jurisdictions were illegally searching and arresting them. And I knew they were telling the truth because I used to do the same, and I recognized it. So Candy decided, she said, well, why don't you go out and bust cops like you used to citizens? So KopBusters was born. Our first operation, we snuck into Odessa, Texas, and rented a house, placed a grow light in the house, started to begin pumping the heat out of the wall because I knew cops use FLIR cameras to detect the heat. And they raided the house. We had it rigged with our lawyers and hidden cameras. So we got to watch them raid the house illegally, only to find a sign that said they were part of this internet reality show and that we're here to get Yolanda out of federal prison because y'all had planted drugs on her earlier. So that made the news, which forced the federal judge that had sentenced Yolanda to prison for 8 years. She had already served 4 of those years. It caused that judge to retake a look at her case, and he released her from prison, and she's out today. So coming off the success of that, there's a Texas county, Williamson County, just north of where I live now, Austin, that's considered one of the worst law enforcement counties in the nation. Literally, they'll scrape 3 flakes of marijuana out of your floorboard and charge everybody with it that's in the automobile. It's ridiculous.
Wow.
So I set a trap for them where I hid a bag and secreted it inside with a GPS unit. and I placed the bag in front of an unsuspecting lieutenant. Inside the bag was money that I had marked, some cash. I copied the serial numbers, and a simulated crack pipe and a drug ledger. I was making this cash look like and appear to be drug cash. So I set the bag out in front of a car wash and hid in the woods, and the canine officer that rolled up, I filmed him taking the money and throwing the bag in the dumpster. So an HBO film crew came down from L.A. and filmed me confronting the chief of police with the evidence of this officer committing a felony. 5 days later, after we aired that on YouTube, Williamson County raided my house full felony SWAT style for misdemeanor false report to a peace officer, claiming that when I called in there was a suspicious bag, that was a false report, which it wasn't. But they seized all of my films and computers, cameras, all my media. They found a few roaches, suspected marijuana roaches in my house, next to my bed, of course, because I'm a smoker.
Right.
And so they got a second search warrant for that and charged me with that. And that was for the sting in Williamson County. Then weeks later, the Texas Rangers tricked Candy out of our house. They sent an undercover lady to the door to knock on the door because they know we don't answer the door for any cops. And they said, I just ran into your car out here. I want to exchange insurance with you. So Candy walked outside, and one of the elite law enforcement agencies of our land was waiting on Candy and sped up and took her down. And that was for false report to a peace officer regarding the Yolanda Madden sting that we had done almost 2 years from the date of Candy's arrest. Well, the Rangers surrounded my house, and of course I used colorful language around them that I won't repeat here, but I basically told them, fuck you, get away from here, I'll come in with my lawyer, and you shouldn't have done that to Candy for a misdemeanor and terrorize us like that. So I turned myself in up at our state's capitol, and a couple months later, by the way, all this has happened in the last 8 months. A couple months later, because I kept telling everybody it's illegal what they're arresting us for, and our lawyers agreed. So a couple months later, the prosecutors in Odessa totally dropped the charges, said, you're right, you shouldn't have been arrested for that. So I thought we were safe, and 2 days later, I walked out of my apartment, and here came the Texas Rangers again. This time they got me for operating without a private investigator's license for the stings that I did in Williamson County, and which is another misdemeanor. And I made it clear to them that I'm an investigative journalist. I don't have to have a license from the state to investigate and film corrupt officers.
No kidding. And Barry, this is pretty unusual. They don't regularly send out the SWAT team officers for misdemeanor offenses, do they?
No, they do not at all. They do not at all. It's their way of, these police officers are really mad at me for releasing the Never Get Busted videos. They tried to get that stopped, and they couldn't. And this is their chance to just kind of kick back at us. We lost our son in the meantime. The police convinced my son's absentee and violent father to file for papers to keep Zach. And we won him back on an appeal, and they just won him back last week, and we're filing for more papers. And it looks like in the long run we'll get our son back. But I tell you, it's been a tough year for Never Get Busted and KopBusters.
Oh man. And so now, Barry, it's just the one charge is there? Or how exactly many is it, or what is it that you're looking at here still?
Right now I have a possession of marijuana charge pending, and so does Candy. I have a operating without a private investigator's license and a false report to peace officer in Williamson County. All my Odessa stuff is taken care of. But we're taking all this to jury trial, and they know it, and they know we're going to win. They're offering some really sweet plea bargain deals because they know they're wrong. And we're just taking it one day at a time, battling this one day at a time, still helping other citizens. In fact, I conferenced with 3 citizens today that had emailed that had just gotten arrested. And we find that when we're helping others through their mess, our stuff seems to be a lot easier.
Right. Now, Barry, if they were pissed off before about the Never Get Busted DVDs and the KopBuster stuff, they're going to be really pissed off now at the Barry Cams, which is your new endeavor and what you're doing. Why don't you tell people exactly what you're doing there?
Well, I wanted to make everybody a KopBuster. While we were doing the KopBuster stings, we had tons of emails. How can I get involved? How can I get involved? And this dream has just come true for me. We started a company and we launched it a couple weeks ago. Barrycam.com. By the way, Jeremiah, you did an excellent story on that. Thank you. That was reported really well and accurate.
Oh, thanks, man. Yeah, it looks like a really cool product to me, man. I can't wait to get my hands on one of them and see it in action. And I'm going to put up on the screen here so everybody watching can see what the newest, the one Barry Cam that's available now. I know, Barry, you said that you're going to have other options available for cameras, but the one you have now, why don't you tell them about that one?
Okay, first of all, I want everybody to understand we're not just selling a camera, although a camera comes with each protection program package. But this is the Barry Cam Protection Program. My son thought of that name, and we loved it, and we used it, and we still love it. I want to give him credit there for that. But it's a protection program where you have access to me. And that's important for listeners because I'm currently 6-0 in cases that I've been hired as an expert witness. And we're talking about in federal court here in the U.S. and in state courts. I have 2 cases pending right now. And what I do is guide people through every part of their post-arrest. That means finding the right attorney, making sure they're spending their legal fees properly, making sure their bonds are not set too high, working it out with them how to get booked in and out of jail. So this protection program links you to me. And it also comes with, right now, the only camera we're offering, and like you said, we're going to be offering a lot more, is the one you see on your screen. It looks like a car key, but it's actually, it's almost high-definition video. It's so clear. And it's covert. You put it on your keychain, and you use it in all law enforcement encounters or divorce situations, an argument with a neighbor. Get that on video, and then you can go to my website and hit the Alert Barry function, and it uploads that video to me for my review, and then I give you advice. If you've just been arrested, I'll actually call you. But we've got a staff here and myself making sure that you're going to make the right decision during that critical time of your life.
So, Barry, walk us through when somebody might be useful for somebody to use this, or how they would go about using that in a situation.
Okay, well, for instance, like if you go to, we're not right now, but later on, go to barrycam.com, and actually one of our users has already recorded a traffic stop. They were pulled over, and they sent me the video, and I analyzed it, and it's on the front page of our website, and the officer didn't do anything wrong. So, he's going to have to pay his speeding ticket. But it could have helped if that officer, sometimes you just disagree with an officer, and he calls that arguing. and he begins to snatch you out of your car and use tasers and things of that nature. So if you catch all that on video, he's busted and he's in trouble. And not only do you have some video, but you have me. If it's bad, I've got all kinds of media contacts. I'll have the news all over that police station, within 24 hours. And that's part of so the Barry Cam Protection Program is a big extension of KopBusters. We're developing and building a community on our website of people that are looking out for each other. I envision everybody having a Barry Cam, and anytime something's going on wrong, they turn them on because it's the best protection you can have.
Right. And so now this one's this is a little car key one, and it actually, when you press the button and the thing flips out, it takes a micro SD card. Give us some of the stats, Barry. Do you have them in front of you? I think I do if you don't.
Yeah, I think I do. Let me grab a box.
Well, I can tell you guys here. I got a little list. It's 720. Oh, go ahead, Barry.
No, well, I was going to say, like I said, we began shipping several weeks ago, and all of our customers that have already received them are just, it makes me feel good because we worked hard on this, and they're really loving the product. Okay, it's 720 by 480 at 29 feet per second, whatever that means to the tech people out there. It also takes still images, 2,560 by 1920. It has a wonderful motion activation mode where you can set the camera down in your house or wherever you like, and within about 15 to 20 feet, if anybody walks in front of it, it activates it and begins recording. And then after 3 minutes, if it doesn't sense any more motion, it goes back to sleep in the motion detection mode, waiting to catch some other type of movement. And by the way, when you buy one of these, it comes with everything you need. You don't have to go buy an SD card. You don't have to go buy a USB cord. You get all of that with the box. You can literally take it out and start filming with it immediately, even without a charge. And it also comes with a 1-year warranty, meaning if that camera breaks, email me immediately and we will send you a new one. And then you can purchase an extended warranty if you like. But and we're financing them too now. I don't think I mentioned that to you last time we talked, but you can buy the camera, the whole system for $199 right now, or $55 a month. We decided to finance them because we want everybody to have one. It's a great tool to stay safe, especially in America, and recently the way Canada's going in Canada.
No kidding. Wow. Well, that's really cool, Barry. It sounds like a pretty wicked little gadget, and I hope that everybody starts recording your interactions no matter where you are. Now, Barry, do people have to purchase the camera, or can they get the program itself? Say if somebody records their own video without your camera, is it possible to get that service without purchasing the camera, or how does that work?
Yes, after the holidays, we're going to have an option in the store where the customer can upload their video to my site for an analysis, even if they didn't purchase the protection program. Now, there's going to be a fee involved with that because, of course, I have to pay bills like everybody else, and lawyers charge fees, even cops charge a fee to go to jail. They get paid to take you. But, there'll be a fee for that. But, no, you do not have to purchase my protection program to get that analysis and guidance that's so critical, especially in the 72 hours following your encounter.
Right, and now if people want to, you'll be actually posting that video online as well if people are interested in it or something, and making that available for everybody to see like you do with the one you said already there on your site.
Yeah, we're going to start placing the law enforcement encounter videos at barrycam.com and put my review underneath where other people can learn what to start watching for. I want to teach the public what I know in my mind, similar to what I did on Traffic Stops Volume 1 and Volume 2 and never get busted. I want them to be able to read my review and comment underneath it and open up discussions on every video that's sent in. And that's only if our customer gives us permission to. If they don't want themselves on the internet, we certainly won't put them there.
Right, exactly. Great, Barry. Well, it sounds really cool. I can't wait to check it out. I'm going to have to go and check out. And now, the one that's there now, that's at Barry Cam already, or is that at Never Get Busted, or where is that one?
What's the question again?
You said that one of them was already up online, or am I mistaken?
No, it's already up online. BarryCam.com.
Right.
On the front page, you'll see the commercial for the Barry Cam, and right under that, you'll see an actual traffic stop. And then right next to that, we also had one of our customers go through TSA screening with the camera going, and he got it passed through, so you can watch that video as well.
Wow, and that's another thing. Now with all these TSA screenings where they're doing enhanced pat-downs and making people go through the cancer-producing radiation machines, there's definitely been an influx of videos out there, people recording their interactions with the gropers. So I guess the Barry Cam would be very useful for that as well.
Yeah, and it's very important to know these Barry Cams are good for courtrooms. There's all kinds of craziness going on in court, and in the commercial that you can see on the front page of BarryCam.com, Candy actually sneaks one of these cameras through the U.S. court security, and it's not illegal to film your court hearing or your court trial. But I tell you what, it's very effective when you go into court and that judge has acted nuts like they do to YouTube that or send it to me and I can help you with it. And that'll cause that judge to start acting a little more appropriately, because that is one thing our judges are sensitive about here in America, and that's political correctness.
That's right. Well, excellent having you on the show, Barry. Is there anything else that you want to add before I let you go here, brother? Is there any way that people can help you besides going to nevergetbusted.com and barrycam.com?
No, we're doing fine. I want everybody to stay vigilant, just like they are regarding Marc and Jody Emery. It's so wonderful to see the Cannabis Culture family taking care of Marc and Jody. I just see the support from everywhere and the other online support. We're grieved every day about their situation. Marc certainly doesn't deserve any of what he's getting right now from our government, and neither does Jody. And we're really sorry that's happening to them. And just thanks. I guess the last thing I would want to say is thanks to all the supporters for helping them through that, because it really, when a man's in jail, he starts thinking a little different. He can't help it. And no matter how much you tell a person that they haven't been forgotten, they still at times feel forgotten. So just keep doing what y'all are doing, man. Pouring the letters in and keeping that support going. It's very refreshing to see from Austin.
Excellent. It's totally true. And if people want to write to Marc in jail where he is now, I'm going to talk about Marc right now, Barry. It's perfect that you led into that, because Marc actually sent me a letter from D. Ray James, his prison in Georgia, the correctional facility in Folkston, Georgia, where he is now, where he may possibly spend 5 years if he has to stay there. Now, we're trying to get him back to Canada now through the treaty transfer process. And actually, you guys, there's ways to help Marc. If you go to freemarc.ca, there's a list of ways you can help Marc. And one of the biggest ways you can help him is just sending him letters. He's in jail right now. His contact is limited with all of us, and Marc loves contact with people. He loves getting that reaction from people. So please send him letters. Go to cannabisculture.com. On the top page, there's a big long bar that says send mail to Marc. You can't miss it. That's the address there. It doesn't take much. It's like $1 for a stamp or something. So please send him a letter. So Marc sent me a letter, actually, talking about the prison in Georgia there. And Barry, I just wanted to say thanks a lot, brother. And you can stick around, man, if you want to, and listen to the rest of the show. I don't know if you have things to do.
Yeah, actually, I need to bounce. We're having all of our family together in moments. That's Zach and Colton and Kelsey and Kenzie and Candy and myself, and we're going to take advantage of that.
Excellent. All right, my friend. Well, you have yourself a good one. Thanks for coming on, and we'll talk again soon, brother.
Yeah, and by the way, last thing, your show looks really classy, Jeremiah. You guys are doing a really good job.
Oh, thanks, Barry. Appreciate that, brother. We're trying. I was going to try and set some other cool stuff up this time around, but just ran out of time a little bit. The set may change coming soon a little bit. But yeah, we're trying to get it. We're trying to give people the cannabis culture news on a weekly basis in sort of an informal environment, and it seems to be working out. So we'll definitely have you on the show again, Barry, for sure. And we'll have to tune in when you get some more interesting Barry Cam videos streaming in. We can play them directly on the show, so it'd be pretty fun.
All right, brother. Peace to y'all.
You too, Barry. Thanks a lot, man. And everybody's giving you mad props in the comment section here.
Excellent. Tell them we love them.
All right, and you too, and give Candy our best.
Okay, bye-bye.
All right, Barry. Have a good one. All right, so, yeah, about Marc. Marc sent me a letter from Folkston, Georgia, from D-Ray. And he was telling in his letter, and you can go to the front page of CannabisCulture.com right now and look at Marc's blog. It's on the right-hand side. It's the top, or one of the top blogs right now. And it's his latest blog/letter. And in it, he talks about the certain prison that he's in isn't a BOP, a Bureau of Prison-operated prisons. Prison. It is operated by the Immigration and Naturalization Service, the INS. Now, because the people who are there are not American citizens, they're like Marc, Canadian. There's not very many Canadians, really. Mostly Mexican people, a lot of people from Latin America, some people from Europe and other places. But they don't actually have the same rights in the U.S. that normal prisoners have. They're actually supposed to. I guess Marc says this in his letter, that there's a sign that hangs in his prison that says, according to the BOP, they don't discriminate against the type of prisoners in the prison he's in and the ones in a regular prison. But Marc has a very, very long, complaint, a few complaints here after complaint about how they indeed are treating them very differently, and how basically it's a way of just milking the crap out of them, extracting as many pennies out of their asses as possible, to put it extremely mildly. The differences have to do with how they communicate with the outside world. Massive charges. There's corporations that get involved, because Marc is in a prison that's run by the Geo Group, Inc. It's a private prison company who runs a lot of these prisons, and they make money at all ends of these things, at all angles. They're always extracting dollars out of Marc and these guys. So if you want to read about how there are differences in these prisons, go and check out Marc's letter. Marc also has some good news in the letter about how he has been staffing. They put him basically in charge of a section of the library there in the prison. So now Marc is working in the prison library. So Marc started his early activism days and his business days. That's how he started generating cash, is by running a bookstore called City Lights in London, Ontario. Now, it's funny that they put him back and they're giving him this position in the bookstore, and immediately what he's doing is asking people for their donations of magazines and books. And if you go and read that blog post, you can see information about how you can send in your just any newer magazines that you have at your house. You can send Marc books as well, as long as they're softcover books. You can't send hardcover books unless you buy them from Amazon, which you are more than welcome to do. Please buy him hardcover books from Amazon as well. Now, when you send Marc this stuff, it's not just going to Marc. Marc is giving away all his books and magazines to the prison library now. And so if you check out the blog, there's information on the type of books they need, all that kind of stuff. So Marc is going to try and stock the crap out of that place and have a beautiful library in the prison where he describes it now. He says it's one of the worst libraries he's ever been in. It's just ragged books, old stuff. It's a vast majority of the people that are in the prison he's in now speak Spanish. And in the library, there's very few Spanish books and magazines there, and he talks about that. So, hopefully you guys can get the inmates there at D. Ray James some nice Christmas presents, maybe a magazine subscription or something along those lines. But please check this out. And I just wanted to show you here, I've got a couple pictures of the prison itself. Now I'm going to pan to this shot here. This is D. Ray James, the facility. This is the new renovation they've done. They've expanded a little bit. If you go and look at it on Google Maps, it actually looks a little bit different than this. This is a newer picture, an aerial shot there. Now, let's show you another one here. Do I have some other ones? Oh, I thought I did, but maybe I don't. I was going to show you guys another picture of the inside of the prison and a couple of the outside. I don't have them loaded up here, but it just looks barren inside. And it's pretty brutal. Jody's been down there once, and she is on her way there now. She should be on a plane right now going to visit Marc for this weekend, so hopefully they'll get a nice holiday visit in there. And again, if you want to help Marc Emery and find out more about his story and how you can help, please go to freemark.ca, go to cannabisculture.com, click on the link at the top that goes to the information about the address for D. Ray James, where you can send Marc mail, books, magazines, anything else. So I guess that's it for today. We went a little over our hour. It's 5:16 now. And that's basically all I have for the day. I want to thank everybody for tuning in today. It was awesome. Worked out good. We had Jacob Hunter on the show. I want to give him props again. Go to yprohibition.ca. Sign up there. Get the information about how you can help fight for cannabis law reforms in Canada and the United States. And go, of course, to cannabisculture.com. And pottv.com as well is going to, you'll be seeing more stuff happening there shortly. Tune in to Jody's shows. Jody's recording a show every week now as well, so you'll see those on the front page of cannabisculture.com. And Karina just said Jody is so fantastic and brave, and absolutely she is. I wanted to have her on the show today. It's not possible because she's traveling on an airplane right now, so hopefully she'll be on the show next week. Now, that's the other thing. I'm not sure if this show will be returning next week, if it's New Year's Eve or the 23rd or something. I probably won't be doing a show, but I will be returning after the holiday break, and I'll keep everybody posted on Facebook and CC with the latest on that, and when the new Cannabis Culture News Live show will be returning. So, yeah, I hope you guys like the new name and stuff. Now, and if you're looking for the old We This Week videos, you might be out of luck. At least for the moment, until I find a way of uploading them somewhere. Some of them they're an hour usually, or a little bit over an hour long. And sadly, Ustream has completely disconnected it. Our whole Cannabis Culture account, because of some copyright violation that they never sent me an email about it. They didn't give me any notice. They just disconnected the whole damn thing. Basically, right as we were doing our last show, which unfortunately you can't watch right now because it's not anywhere. But I will be uploading this stuff and making it available on cannabisculture.com soon. Maybe Blip TV. But yeah, tune back in 4 p.m. Pacific time every Friday. Thanks a lot, guys. All right, peace. I'm going to hit this bong rip, and we'll see you guys later.